I'll just let Cecily load up the PowerPoint here. Thanks very much. So Andy Kennedy and I are just going to give you a bit of an overview of the short degree programs at the Crawford School, which include the Graduate Certificate of Public Policy, the new Graduate Certificate of Environmental Management online, and the Executive Masters of Public Policy. Thanks, Cecily. While I'm just waiting for Cecily to flip onto the next slide, we're finding that these short degree programs are becoming really popular in these kind of uncertain times that we're all operating in, as a way for people to upskill and retrain. Perhaps they're in a situation where they're thinking about a change in work, or perhaps need to make a change for various reasons. And we've had a really great response in the last 6 months to some of our shorter programs, because they're quite flexible and they allow you to sort of commit to an achievable study program that can go for perhaps 6 months if you did it full time, or a year or more if you took the courses on a part-time basis. And the other really useful thing about these shorter qualifications is that you can use those as a basis for study. So a number of the people, for instance, that are doing our Graduate Certificate in Environmental Management online are seeing that as a pathway into the Masters program. And at ANU, the fees are charged per course. So usually the graduate certificates are 4 courses or 8 courses, compared to the much longer 16-course commitment in a master's program. I'm going to hand over to Andy now. Thanks, Andy.
Okay, thanks, Sango. So it's my job to talk about the Graduate Certificate of Public Policy, which we offer at the Crawford School here in CAP. So the basic idea here is to give you a relatively quick way to upskill and educate yourself for a career in government with a relatively short postgraduate degree. You can pursue it full-time in 1 semester, or part-time over multiple semesters. And the great thing about it is it's very flexible. You can select any 4 Crawford courses, so you have a wide range of courses to choose from. And you can also use it for credit towards a full master's degree, of which we have several at the Crawford School. There's the Master of Public Policy, Master of Public Administration, Master of Environmental and Resource Economics, or Master of International and Development Economics. And you can design it in different ways depending on what your particular interests are. So let's say, for example, you're interested in policy processes. Here are 4 courses you could take to sort of build a certificate around that interest. You could look at policy process and analysis, writing public policy, case studies and decision-making, and political institutions and policy processes. All 4 of these classes would speak to your particular interest. Let's say you were interested in economic policy, but you're not an economist, then another 4 classes might suit you. You could take economics for government, case studies in economic policy, applied cost-benefit analysis, and public finance as well. So a different set of courses for this particular interest. And let's say you're interested in economic policy and you do have an economics background. You could look at macroeconomic analysis, microeconomic analysis, mathematical methods, and applied economics, applied econ cost-benefit analysis, and econometric techniques. You could pick 4 of these courses to speak to your particular interest. So another set of courses. Now I'm going to turn over to Sango.
Thanks, Andy. So at the Crawford School, we found that although we've got this great array of public policy courses that could go into a graduate cert, there was people who were also interested in kind of a more environmentally focused graduate certificate. So we've newly developed this program And again, it's very much geared towards people working in policy spheres, whether in government or civil society or even the private sector. And it involves 4 courses, which can be completed full-time in a semester or part-time over a longer period. And many students enter this with the idea of continuing on to a master's, or it can be a self-contained qualification. So it can be used for the Master of Environmental Management and Development, which we also teach online. A fully online program is available, and also the Master of Climate Change. Now, we've got a very wide array of courses, and students are very welcome to kind of tailor this to their specific interests. And I won't mention all of these because the list is so long, but things like land governance, environmental communication, food security, disasters, which is extremely topical currently and very popular course that students are interested in, environmental conflicts, a new course coming up on environmental pollution and waste, which is another pressing problem in our region, water politics, a number of courses on climate change. And we also collaborate with the Fenner School of Environment and Society to offer some of their environmental science oriented courses here, which are coded ENVS there. Thanks, Cecily.
Okay, and back to me. Another short degree, relatively short degree we offer at the Crawford School is the Executive Master of Public Policy. And the idea here is that it's a 1-year degree to upskill for a more managerial and leadership role in government. You need to have at least 7 years of relevant experience to enroll in the degree. But you don't have to already be a manager in government to enroll in the degree. The idea is that this collection of courses will enable you to take on such a role in the future. All of the compulsory courses are available online starting next year. In fact, we're already doing that now. And you can complete this degree in 1 year if you're full-time, or in a period of time longer than that if you're part-time. There are 3 compulsory courses to the degree. As I mentioned, they will all be online starting next year. They are Governing Contemporary Public Policy, Leading and Influencing Public Policy, and Strategic Policymaking. And you also need to complete one of these 3 courses, Evidence and Analysis in Public Policy, Policy Research, or Social Policy Analysis. And then lastly, you get to pick 4 electives to suit your own career interests. And these could be from the Policy and Governance program, from the Environmental and Policy and Management offerings, or in the realm of national security as well. So a wide range of courses to choose from in order to complete your degree. And I think this is back to Sango. Thanks.
So at the Crawford School, there's a lot of support around the student experience, which include things like a pre-sessional academic program, which people find really useful if they're entering university studies again after a long break, where you get introduced to academic skills that are going to help you with your studies and assessments and so on. There's opportunities for national and international internships, not only through the ANU internships program, but also the Crawford School itself runs an internships program. There are various courses offered in intensive format, which can really suit students who are juggling work and study. And we have academic skills advisors on staff within the school who are there to provide you with that advice that you might need when you're grappling with an assignment and perhaps need some initial feedback and help with your ideas and how to tackle some of those tasks. And of course, you have access to all the ANU support services such as careers advisors and other things. Thanks, Cecily. And so for the graduate certificates, the entry level is a little bit lower than it is for the masters. So it's a GPA of 4 out of 7 for graduate certificate entry, whereas the master's programs have a GPA of 5. And actually that can be another useful sort of pathway for students into the master's degrees. If you're unable to get into the master's on your GPA, the graduate certificates provide a way for you to sort of try out graduate studies and perhaps build up your record if you wanted to go on to a master's program. And we're taking applications now for semester 1 in 2021, and the contact details are available here, and I guess they'll be provided in a link to all the participants as well. Thanks very much.
Thanks so much, Andy and Sango. That was really great. Now we are going to hear from Professor Bina da Costa. She's going to speak a little bit about the Graduate Diploma of International Affairs. So take it away, Bina.
Thank you, James. Hi, everyone. My name is, as James mentioned, I'm Bina da Costa. I teach at the Department of International Relations at the Coral Bell School. So in my work, I'll start a little bit differently. I want to talk to you a little bit about myself. I worked in the UN for a while, particularly at the Department of Peacekeeping Operations, and then in UNICEF. I did also a lot of work with UNHCR. So I come to academia with a little bit of experience also as a practitioner. And from that angle, in terms of my research now and in terms of my teaching at the Department of International Relations, I see there's a wonderful opportunity, and in the Coral Bell School, there's a wonderful interaction with global experts who also engage in terms of policy discussion, in terms of their practice and international engagement, also connected with local and Australian experiences. So what I'm trying to tell you is that in the Coral Bell School, you'll have a diverse range of options and exposure to many different kinds of academics. Some of you could take you to interesting path to learn about theory and history. Some of us link from our primary research in the field to theory with field, and some do methods and quantitative and qualitative analysis. So the Graduate Diploma of International Affairs that I want to talk to you about today, it's a flexible 1-year full-time or part-time equivalent postgraduate qualification. It particularly suits those of you who are interested, for example, to think about a master's pathway, or for those of you who are already professional and want to just really test the water back into academia again, starting at the university and use it as a master's pathway, or also back in terms of your employment opportunities. So the program, it offers a lot of pathway, in particular master's programs like international relations, diplomacy, and strategic studies. Sometimes master's degrees could be full commitment, but professionals look to upskill and retrain into sort of different career. So for those of you, you can do a graduate diploma of international affairs. Similar to what my colleagues from Crawford mentioned, the GPA requirement for our grad D program is also 4 out of 7. So I now want to talk a little bit about some of the courses and some of the structure what we have. So we have, you have to do a minimum of 6 units of some of our mandatory courses, and they're drawn from international relations, security and strategic studies, diplomacy, Pacific affairs, and politics and social change. So these are our main departments and from their program. So the 6 units, what you can draw from these following courses, there are courses such as world politics, global security, then we have foundations of national security, globalization, Then there's another course of globalization that we teach with Crawford School colleagues, which look at the interaction of economics and politics. We have a very interesting course, Violence and Political Order, that we teach with our colleagues at the College of Social Sciences. Then we have Strategic Studies and Australian Strategic and Defense Policies. So from these courses, you have to take at least 6 units, which is 1 course equivalent unless otherwise mentioned. Then there are 42 units that you can draw from. And here, there's also, interestingly, last year we have structured it in a bit of a different way. So you could also think about specializations. So one specialization could lead you to do Australia's place in the world. So in this case, we teach courses such as making foreign policy, issues in Australian foreign policy, Australia's strategic and defense policy, and strategic alliances in Australian security. You could also do courses that draw from China. So here we have very specific courses on China. Then we have contemporary issues in international affairs. So some of my courses, for example, I'm teaching at the moment humanitarianism and world politics. Then my other course is gender, war, and justice in South and Southeast Asia. And I have just introduced a new course on race and global politics. So some of those actually fall into this other specialization, which is contemporary issues in international affairs. Also from last year, we have a very specific stream of gender and international affairs. So what all of these actually mean is that they offer you with a whole range of skills and knowledge to demonstrate a broad knowledge of contemporary issues and challenges in international, diplomatic, political, and strategic affairs. You could review, analyze, consolidate, and synthesize key debates and theoretical thinking in international affairs and foreign and defense policies. You could also critically evaluate, communicate, and provide solutions to complex problems in international affairs and world politics, make independent judgments on the impact key international issues play in driving political developments in the Asia-Pacific region and around the world, and finally, effectively communicate knowledge and ideas relating to both specialist and general audiences in written and oral format. So these are some of these key learning outcomes from our graduate diploma program. Beyond this, what I'd like to talk to you a little bit about is actually the kind of experience Coral Bell School offers. We are in close proximity, as you know, in Canberra with many, with some of the key Australian government agencies. What it means is that there's a lot of exposure to listen to experts in the policy world. There's a lot of exposure also in terms of international experts who are coming to Canberra and also to interact with them. And in these courses also you are connected in this global network of international students and domestic students who come from a whole range of backgrounds and they bring with them a lot of professional experience. So what it offers you is not only that 1 year of study in terms of international affairs, but a very rich experience of learning and connecting with others. And what we hope at the end that allows you to do is to become key champions of ANU outside and also bring back those experiences from outside to the ANU and become actually advocates in areas of international affairs, security, diplomacy, and so on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bina. I just want to, before we pass to Veronica, just remind everyone that this, after Veronica's presentation, we'll have a Q&A session. We've only got the one question in the Q&A box so far, so please send them through and we'll get to them very shortly. Okay, with that, I'm going to pass over to Professor Veronica Taylor.
Thanks so much, James, and welcome everyone. Thanks for being with us tonight. So I'm speaking from our School of Regulation and Global Governance, which we call RegNet. And we're on a mission. All over the world at the moment, people are working together collectively to try and formulate ways to combat COVID-19. And in the process of doing that, they're trying to change human behaviour. Some of the attempts are working well and others are failing fairly dismally. At RegNet, we are completely focused on trying to improve the way that we do governance of major social, environmental and health issues. And we're also committed to trying to prepare people better to tackle complicated regulatory challenges. So the Graduate Certificate in Regulation and Governance is a short program that has been specifically designed to help you understand and navigate a complex regulatory environment that now has a lot of risk, a lot of technology, and a lot of complicating factors. And what we do is draw on really big ideas from Australia and well-developed data-informed practices from around the world to help participants develop and apply better regulatory approaches. So the people who benefit from this graduate certificate are people who are currently managing regulatory portfolios or projects, or those of you who would like to do that in the future or see that in your professional future. Also anyone who's working with regulatory stakeholders, and we define those stakeholders very broadly to include business, government, the non-profit sector, the media, community. I should stress that Pepper the robot is not going to teach the program, but we are definitely going to discuss what Pepper the robot should be doing in the future. This is a short program. It's 24 units, which is 4 courses. One of the courses is compulsory. This is our portal course, Policy and Practice of Regulation. And then 3 of the courses are electives. We are adding quite a number of exciting new courses in 2021, and those will come online towards the end of this year. The people who this particular certificate program are targeted at are people who have a pre-existing background in university study. You might have a bachelor degree in any number of fields, but we are also very interested in working with people who are coming to the university without formal postgraduate education, but who have equivalent work experience. And for this graduate certificate, the requirement is 5 years work experience in a field in which you've had some exposure to regulatory issues. RegNet is a place where empirical research informs all the work that we do, and it's the place that has launched a lot of the world's big ideas in regulation. One of the things that we feature in the program are masterclasses that involve distinguished regulatory practitioners. At the moment, this graduate certificate is the only one in Australia that focused on regulation and governance, and we developed it in partnership with Access Canberra, which is the peak regulatory organisation in the Australian Capital Territory. But it draws students from all over Australia and indeed from the region. The content of the program has a strong Australia, Asia and Pacific focus, and we also draw on a lot of the global scholarly and practice networks. One of the things that we're emphasising in this program is interdisciplinary skills, the ability to take information from one domain to another and join them together for effective regulation. And what we're aiming to do is to really improve your prospects in multiple career pathways. So let me hand back to you, James.
Thanks very much, Veronica. That was wonderful. Okay, everyone. So there are our 4 presentations done. So we're going to move to the Q&A session now. And I might invite, I suppose some of the questions will be different from the different schools. So we'll just go around the horn a little bit. So the first one I might aim to you, Sango. I think you've seen it already, but it's asking about how these programs sit if they want to maybe go on to a PhD.
Thanks, James. I guess I can speak for perhaps some of the Crawford School graduate certificates. So typically I think for students that are interested in a PhD, they would want to perhaps focus at the master's level. But the graduate certificate programs are, as I mentioned, a pathway into masters for some students. If you wanted to try out kind of the range of courses and find out more about, you know, the teaching programs, it's quite a nice entry pathway. But I would say probably for a PhD pathway, you'd want to be looking at a master's. I don't know if anyone has things to add on that from other areas around the university.
Yeah, I think we might. I think that's pretty similar across the board. So happy to move on to the next one. Thank you for your question. So this is one that may be different per school, but there's questions here about how it's going to work with COVID-19. Is there any delay to commencing 2021? And what will the differences be for international students? Would you like to take that, Bina, from Bell School's point of view?
Yes, thanks, James. Happy to respond. And I'd also like to invite Liliana if she'd like to add to my response. So from our school, we've been discussing this and how to actually offer a bit of flexible learning opportunities for students, particularly international students. And this is not something we can do just independently from Bell School in terms of commencement period. This is something actually from the university, what we're thinking about, how we can provide international students with their offer to commence their study and remotely if possible. So this discussion is ongoing. What I can tell you that we are prepared to do that. And LJ, I don't know if you'd like to add into anything, if there's any other updates to offer.
Look, I'm afraid there are no other updates. I think, you know, currently one of the only certainties is uncertainty. And I think that's, you know, as most of you would know, is out of our control. But at this stage, you know, I think it is business as usual in terms of intake for both international and domestic students. And moving forward in the postgraduate space, we probably at this stage will be looking at offering our courses remotely, certainly for the remainder of this semester and perhaps even semester 1, 2021.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bina and Liliana. Is that the same at Crawford and RegNet as well? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like that was a good line. The only certainty is uncertainty. The next question is about the Master of International and Development Economics. So I think for you, Andy. The question is around minimum requirements to keep going in the master's degree, or what you can tell us about maybe starting in the grad certificate and what's required to go to the master's program.
Yes, thanks. To keep going in the IDEC degree, I think you need to get passing grades in the IDEC degree. In terms of transitioning from the graduate certificate into the IDEC degree, I think you'd need to get satisfactory grades in that as well. I don't have, I don't teach in the IDEC degree, so I don't have more specific information than that. I don't know if Cecily wants to add anything.
Yeah, sure. No, thanks, Andy. That's what you've said is just to come in behind that is exactly right. That if you did do the graduate certificate, we'd be counting that towards your GPA. Therefore, your GPA needs to be 5 out of 7 to move into the master's program. I think you're kind of asking an exit. Oh, it's gone. But I think there was an exit question there too. Just a reminder that with all of our master's degrees, you can actually exit as a graduate diploma as well. So that also gives you an exit point. And I think that's the same across most of the schools. So that's another opportunity as well.
Thanks, Cecily. The next question, I regret to inform you that the Master in Public Health is not offered by our college. But it might be worthwhile, Andy, discussing the differences between a health specialisation in the Master of Public Policy and the Master in Public Health. Would you be happy to do that?
I think, in the Crawford School, if you're doing the MPP with a specialization in health policy, you're going to be doing a lot of courses that will give you a broader education in public policy. You'll be looking at policy institutions and policy-making processes. And then you'll have the opportunity to take additional courses in health policy based on those sort of foundational courses. I'm not an expert on how the actual Master in Health Policy offered in other parts of the university works, but that's in the Crawford School, you're going to have a grounding in public policy more generally, and then you build your health coursework on top of that.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. And I would just add to whoever asked that question that the Master of Public Health is offered by the ANU College of Science. And so if you go back to the program area where you found this session, if you just search for College of Science or even Master of Public Health, you should be able to find a similar session that will be more tailored to that. This one might even be for you, Cecily, if you have any knowledge of when CSPs will be available for 2021. I know it's a tough one.
It is a tough one, and unfortunately, ANU has not been a big mover in offering CSPs on postgraduate places, and that of course relates to the federal government's allowance to us to do so. We did have a great opportunity this semester to offer the Graduate Certificate of Environmental Management, which was a subsidised degree with CSP places. We have had no confirmation at this stage that that particular graduate certificate will continue in its subsidised form, nor unfortunately have we had any confirmation about more broadly CSP places being available across the ANU. I think it's a slight wait and see kind of arrangement. There is some talk obviously around trying to get people who are struggling in employment situations back into particularly postgraduate study, but not something that we can confirm at this stage. Certainly if it does go live, that'll be straight up on our website relating to whichever specific degree we're going to offer it against. And Josh, who asked the question, I certainly have his details and I can definitely be in touch with people. So if anyone has that specific inquiry, if you can contact Crawford School at the crawford.degrees@anu.edu.au email address, we can then let you know as soon as we've had confirmation.
Thanks, Cecily. Here's one for you, Veronica. I'm going to read this verbatim, if that's okay. So I am interested in RegNet's PhD program at the Menzies Centre for Health Governance. Since the Menzies Centre for Health Governance focuses on quantitative methods, will PhD students receive training on quantitative methods of data analysis?
It's a great question, thank you. So RegNet offers degrees at the graduate certificate level, the master's level and the PhD level. And something that all of those programs have in common is a really strong core of research skills training. So one of the things that we aim for is that everyone who comes to study at RegNet will be trained in and literate in a wide range of research and analytic skills and also research ethics. And so we provide foundational training in quantitative skills and qualitative skills, but also then direct students into more advanced programs and particular skills training sessions, depending on the design of their project and depending, of course, on their own personal and professional backgrounds. The skills training and the research design experience is, I think, something that most of the students say is one of the signature things about the school and one of the things that they really enjoy doing very much as a cohort.
Thanks, Veronica. All right, everyone, I've just got one question here remaining, and we've still got plenty of time. So if you do have any questions, please keep popping them in the Q&A. This is another one from Josh, and this is for either Bina and Andy. So from the perspective of delaying specialisation, would the certificate in public policy or international affairs be most suitable? So do you want to take that first, Bina? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Josh. So in terms of delaying specializations, this is a really important question. And we have students in the graduate diploma program who want to first think about and test what is a little bit about in terms of what kind of specialization they would like to do. But within the whole spectrum of international relations, security studies, diplomacy, Pacific affairs, and so on. From our school, we always actually encourage students at the graduate diploma level to delay the specialization. But we have a really good record of many students who then actually enter a particular kind of specialist track. For example, I mentioned before contemporary issues in international affairs, China and Australia, but then there are others such as global governance and international organizations, globalization and development, international political economy, and security and strategy. In those, we have like a whole lot of courses that students can also, they can take from. They can also actually, in addition to the courses you can do for the 48 units, there are also other courses in which students can also audit. So it offers a lot of opportunities. Thank you.
Andy, do you want to have your take from public policy point of view?
Sure, yes, I'll jump in. Very good question. I should emphasize that there's no requirement that you specialize in the grad cert in public policy. So you can come in and it's really up to you to choose the courses that interest you and that make sense for you. So you could certainly delay specialization if you were enrolled in the grad cert in public policy. And then if you wanted to, you could use that as a stepping stone to enroll in a master's degree, something like the Master of Public Policy, for example. And then during the course of pursuing that master's degree, you could decide on a specialization within that degree, perhaps in your second year of studies. And we have a variety, around a dozen different specializations you can pursue within the Master of Public Policy. So there's certainly no need to specialize in the grad cert in public policy.
Thanks both. So I've just got one other question here. So we've still got another 15 minutes or so. So like I said, please, if you do have any other questions, please type them below. And this is one that I can take. There's one about the admission requirements for RegNet and public policy. And as we said earlier, so you need an undergraduate certificate with a grade point average of 4 out of 7 to enter into any of the grad certs. Andy, did you want to just reiterate the entry requirements for the Executive Master of Public Policy in case we've had any latecomers? And maybe about the work experience aspects of it?
Sure, yes. So the requirements for the executive MPP requires 7 years of relevant work experience to enter to the degree. And as I explained earlier, that doesn't have to be managerial experience. It simply needs to be relevant work experience. And then once you take the degree, we train you to take on a more managerial role in public policy. So that's the basic idea.
Thanks, Andy. And there's just a follow-up here from Josh. So I guess he's tossing up between the two, between public policy and international affairs, and wondering which one is more generalist. I think I saw that somewhere. Just lost the question, sorry. But so the question was as well, is international affairs a sub-discipline of public policy? Not really. I noticed you just answered that, Bina. Did you want to have a chat about that as well?
Yes, happy to mention. No, actually they are separate. International affairs and public policy, they are, so Andy's school, which is a Crawford school, is separate from the Coral Bell School, from where we offer international affairs. Having said that, you could actually also study about international affairs from doing something in public policy, and a little way about public policy in international affairs. So Josh, what I'm trying to say is that at the end, it depends on your interest and where you'd like to go with this. So I would encourage you to read our handbooks, and there's a lot of material available, and James is also sharing. And we are also, of course, available to discuss further if you'd like to. Thank you.
Thanks, Bina. I just wanted to make note as well that the grad cert in regulation and governance is also open to people who don't necessarily have an undergraduate degree. So if you have 5 years of professional experience, you're invited to apply for that as well. Okay, so there's one more question from Emily. Can the grad, so another one for you, Andy, can the grad certificate of public policy be done externally? So I think she probably means online from off campus.
Yes, at the moment we are offering a large number of courses online, and in that sense, you can certainly be taking Crawford School courses and courses for the grad cert in public policy externally. I'm teaching a course right now that is completely online and that could be taken for credit towards the grad cert, and many of us are doing that in the school. So that's certainly possible right now. In the first semester of 2021, as we talked about, it's unclear exactly how everything's going to work, but there is the excellent possibility that we will still be teaching virtually everything online. And perhaps deeper into 2021 as well.
Thanks, Andy. I can see Ramsey Maddy has raised their hand, so I'm going to allow you to talk, Ramsey. So just accept that invitation to unmute, and you can chat to us directly. Hi, Ramsey.
Yes, hello.
What's your question?
Yes, my question is about how can I understand studying with your university? You understand me?
You just dropped out there, Ramsey. Could you repeat that, please?
I asked you about how can I study in university?
Ramsey, I'm really sorry. You're just dropping out at the crucial moment. Would you prefer to type your answer in the Q&A, your question in the Q&A section, and we can enter it that way? That would be easier. Sorry about that.
Sorry, the internet is cut. You understand me?
We can just hear you, but it just cuts in and out, Ramsey. I'm just going to pop you back into the other room, and I'll get you to type your question if that's okay. I've got another raised hand here, so we'll try again. We'll try that again. Hello there.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good evening, or good evening. Here is morning. Yeah, this is the second time. Yeah, this is the second time meeting you, James. What is? Thank you very much. I'm really excited about this session. I want to appreciate everyone that has presented. I'm actually, looking at the presentation, I'm thinking about my passion. I mean, what I'm actually interested in. And I think what the issue of RegNet and or public policy is what I am actually interested in. But the question that I want to ask is the issue of when will it start? When can I start this program? I'm from Africa, Nigeria, for example, to be precise. And then I actually want to get this program started on time to be able to maybe put a career change. I have a background in dentistry, and thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks for the question. What was your first name?
Okpeyemi. Yes, I do.
Yeah, thanks very much. So when are you thinking that you would like to start? Because depending on your start date, it's dependent on when you can apply. So when would you like to start studying here? Would it be semester 1 next year or later?
Yeah, as soon as I have the opportunity, I would like to start now. But the issue, because I will write my IATLS exam probably this coming next month, so that I will have opportunity to. But at the same time, I want to start my application. Can I start the application before the end of the result is the result is out? Possibly, I am thinking of something that I can start as soon as possible.
Yes, so I can tell you generally that if you wanted to start in semester 1 next year, you've still got plenty of time to lodge your application. If round 2 closes in 1 week, but if you don't finish your IELTS in time, your application will just roll over to the next round. Is that different at Crawford, Cecily? I know that's an international question, but does anyone know if that's any different?
Yeah, I can't comment on the international dates. I'm sorry, James. I think perhaps if we ask just to send a quick email to Crawford.degrees, so we can get back to you tomorrow.
Generally, you have until 16th of November this year. Some programs are different, but you've got until the 16th of November to lodge your application. That includes you need to have your IELTS and everything finished by then. But it's worthwhile. I'll put some details in the chat, because it's worthwhile sending an email to either Crawford or RegNet separately, just to make sure that there's no differences in those timeframes. But I'll put a few links in the chat now, and that a few links and a few email addresses to help you out, and then I'll do that now. All right, so I'll do that over the next couple of minutes. Thank you for that. Okay, have we got any other questions? We've only got about 5 minutes to go, so one's popped up. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Okay. So I think, like I said, this session is for all of you who are attending right now. If you don't have any more questions, we might wrap it up. But we will hang around for the next 5 or so minutes, because if you want to take down any of the links or any of the email addresses that we've popped in the chat, it's important to do that before the session finishes, because once the session finishes, they will disappear. So I'm going to hang around till 8 o'clock and make sure that everyone can get all the information they need. But if that's the end of our questions, I'm going to say a very heartfelt thank you to Professor Veronica Taylor, Professor Bina DaCosta, Associate Professor Sangha Mahanti, Associate Professor Andy Kennedy. We are very, very appreciative of your time. And of course, thank you to everyone who has attended this session. Like I said, I'm going to hang around, make sure you can get all that information in the chat. But I'm going to give all our esteemed academics a 5-minute early mark. So thank you again.